Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, the code breaking news, culture, magic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Breaking news, Joe Rogan, which happens to be the host of the most popular podcast on the face of the earth, completely destroying legacy media numbers. Tucker Carlson comes in second with 3.5 million viewers per episode. Joe Rogan comes in first with 11 million average viewers and listeners per episode. Got $100 million contract from Spotify for podcasting. Look at that. So anyways, so he said the quiet part out loud. And what's interesting, we'll play you guys the clip during the numbers segment. What's interesting though, is him going down the unique value proposition of Bitcoin, right? What makes Bitcoin unique, the scarcity aspect of it. He hasn't touched upon the censorship resistant aspect of it. How long until Joe Rogan brings on a Bitcoiner onto the show, right? Because, you know, and people were talking about that on Twitter. Which Bitcoiner would you advocate for to go on the Joe Rogan Experience to make the case for Bitcoin? Is it Michael Saylor? Is it Saifedean? Is it Corey? Who would you pick? Who would you nominate? Who do you think would have the most powerful effect? Because it's not only someone who communicates effectively, right? It has to be someone who story tells effectively, who has the charisma as well, right? To explain it, to capture people's minds and imagination. I think it's coming. I think it's coming soon. Without a doubt, the next bull market, I think it's inevitable. And then if he brings on one Bitcoiner, you know, it's just not going to stop there. It's going to become a lot more Bitcoiners. So when Naim Bukele on the Joe Rogan Experience, when Michael Saylor on the Joe Rogan Experience, really looking forward to those episodes. And I think that's really one of the tipping points, right? And I think that's all going to happen a lot quicker than people perceive or people expect. So definitely hunker down. But anyways, before we start the show, I want to bring up my legendary co-host. He's always optimistic. He wakes up and he's like, he has a smile on his face. This is the first thing he does. Anyways, Opti.
Hey, well, don't spread the fake news, guys. You have to work on being optimistic every single day.
Oh, okay.
And there's days I'm only human here. I can't always be happy. You need the highs and the lows. But anyways, to your point, seeing Joe Rogan talk about Bitcoin, I think all of our Bitcoiners have been waiting to say, finally, Joe, finally, you're starting to see the light. And I'm glad that he is. Like you mentioned, he is the biggest voice on planet Earth right now. He's got the biggest audience. And he is finally doing his audience the service that we all feel here on Simply Bitcoin in the Bitcoin Twitter spaces. There's something wrong in the world and we may have a solution. And on that note, that's pretty much what we're going to talk about on the culture. I think right now we are in a position where most people out there are feeling that there is something wrong in the world, and this is uncontentious. So we're going to talk about that in the culture, and I'll bring some tweets in from fellow Bitcoiners, and we'll lay out some good little sauce for you guys today.
We'll definitely lay out the theory of the case for sure. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the show. Let's do this.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Brought to you by Nodl. At this point, you should be running your own Bitcoin node. If you don't use your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core, the Lightning Network, Whirlpool, and Dojo, all from the comfort of your own home. And if you're a digital nomad, you have absolutely no excuse, because now you can run a Nodl through a virtual private server. Visit nodl.eu today. All right, guys, I also want to tell you about Bitcoin 2023. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin conference on the face of the planet Earth, in the solar system. Biggest Bitcoin conference. You don't want to miss it. Miami Beach, Florida, May 18th through the 20th. And you can use the promo code SIMPLY to get a 10% discount on your tickets to Bitcoin 2023. Some of the speaker lists, and we read it every single day because new speakers do get added. Arthur Hayes, Michael Saylor, Michael Lewis, Jack Mahlers, Casey, creator of Ordinals, Alex Gladstein, Stacey Herbert, Matt Odell, Lynn Alden, and many, many more. Jeff Booth is on there as well. You definitely don't want to miss this. If you're looking for a career in the industry, the Bitcoin conference happens to be one of the best places to network to do just that. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 22,520 sats per dollar, 4,440, block height 779,604, reachable Bitcoin nodes 16,240, blocks to the halving 60,396. Halving estimates April 21st, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 5,390 Bitcoin. Capacity value 121 million US dollars. My favorite stat out of all of this, the realized monetary inflation is 1.76%, and the market capitalization of Bitcoin currently $434 billion with a B. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is still a tiny baby. Anyways, I'm going to play you guys a short clip from the Joe Rogan Experience. And Joe is finally saying the quiet part out loud. Joe is finally saying what us Bitcoiners have been saying for quite a while now. Anyways, let's check it out, and then we'll talk about it.
If Bitcoin becomes the only money worth anything. And then everybody's like, oh, I don't have any of it. But your money's not worth shit. You got to get new money. You got to get money in Bitcoin.
That's what's going to happen.
And then there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin, right? Like the Bitcoin number is finite, right? So like maybe there's no Bitcoin for you.
Right.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to
Ooh, that's what's going to happen. And remember, us Bitcoiners came out with a bunch of memes for this. Knut's Van Home, I think one of my favorite, right? 21 million divided by infinity, right? You know, people want Bitcoin. It does become the global reserve currency. Look, currently there are around, last time I checked, around 40, between either 47 million or 60 million millionaires on planet Earth, right? How many Bitcoin are there? 21 million. It's estimated that between 4 to 5 million are lost. All right, do the math, right? And also the amount of whole coiners that are being minted daily continues to go up, right? So a lot of people are jumping on this generational wealth opportunity. You definitely don't want to miss this. You definitely don't want to miss this. You'll definitely kick yourself down the road if you do. Anyways, Opti, what do you think of that? Dude, he's coming around, bro. He's coming around. Even though we know that producer Jamie, right, is, apparently he holds some altcoins, to put it nicely. Looks like you can't stop the honey badger. You can't stop the orange signal.
Yeah, it's like Vake said right here. He's so close. Like he's like right there. He's on the edge. And I mean, I think he's also kind of doing a good broadcaster thing where he's not actually putting out his opinion. As someone with such a big audience, he probably does feel a certain sense of responsibility about the things that he says. So I think just posing those questions is not only very important, but one of those, journalistic tools that he's using. But to his point, we've been saying this forever. Like when people wake up to the FOMO, when people wake up to what Bitcoin is, when people wake up to what 21 million digital scarcity really means, it's about to go exponential and parabolic. The gradually then suddenly meme will happen in real time. And as you guys out there, as Bitcoiners that realize the generational wealth that is Bitcoin, that realize that you need to make it over the finish line with the sats in your control right now, it's going to be very hard to pry those Bitcoins out of your hands unless it is selling for a pretty penny. So, in time, I think people will wake up to this. And the FOMO, when we finally reach escape velocity, I think it's going to really blow our minds. And of course, as Bitcoiners, we've been saying this forever, and we continuously see these cycles play out in real time where retail jumps into Bitcoin, the price goes exponential, and then we retrace. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm saying that this cycle is a super cycle, but there will be a point when everyone wakes up to what Bitcoin actually is, and they won't be going back to the fiat cycle, whether it is, hyperinflation in the West, or whether it's just people opting out and realizing that you can't trust the system. We've been lied to, and there is a better system. So as an early Bitcoiner, And, I'd hate to get tomatoes thrown at me, but I still believe that all of us are early Bitcoiners, early adopters of Bitcoin. And we're still so early in this experiment. I know, cliche, we're still so early, but we're all laying the groundwork for people to get and understand Bitcoin right now, today. This is what we're doing, because in time, Bitcoin will become normalized. Bitcoin will become mainstream, and it'll be so glaringly obvious that Bitcoin is the solution. But still, we are in them early phases where people think we're the crazy ones and we're a part of a cult when they're a part of the fiat cult. But hey, Joe Rogan, the biggest broadcaster in the world, is waking up to what we know. And what we say here every single day is that in time, people are going to go absolutely bananas for Bitcoin, and the real FOMO hasn't even started. So I'm just glad to be here this early. I'm, like I say in the past, I'm glad that I can be in the front lines watching this play out in real time, because it is going to get absolutely epic to be a Bitcoiner pretty soon. And this is the theory of what we do here. In time, everyone will be a Bitcoiner. In time, Bitcoin will suck up all the value of the world. Maybe not all of it, but most of it. And that just means that you as a Bitcoiner will get rewarded by taking the risk and putting in the work. So shouts out to you guys. Continue to spread the signal. And shouts out to Joe. I'd really love to see him spread the Bitcoin signal, because, again, he is the biggest broadcaster in the world. And I really do think he's a Bitcoiner. A lot of the things he talks about is things we talk about on Bitcoin Twitter. Like, he is a Bitcoiner. What's the saying? He's a pre-coiner and he doesn't even know it. So shouts out to Joe.
So, okay, I want to focus
Actually, I think he still has some. I think he owns a little bit.
Yeah, no, but okay, but hold on. So mindset is really important, right? And a lot of people take a long time to, because the orange pill is a big pill. Like, it's not an easy pill to swallow. Like, it's a big hard pill, right, to take. Who do you think is best suited? And I would love for you guys to let us know in the chat, and we'll pull some of it up. We've seen some people talk about it already. We've seen some people mention some Bitcoiners. Who do you think is the best suited? We have Theodore that says Jeff Booth is the Mr. Rogers of Bitcoin, right? So we have definitely some. Theodore also said, I think Jeff Booth would do a good job explaining Bitcoin to Joe Rogan. So who do you think is the best suited? Because they can't just explain Bitcoin. There needs to be an element of storytelling as well, right? There needs to be an element of you need to have a charismatic person that tells a captivating story that captures people's imagination, and human beings really learn in stories, right? So who is best suited? I have my thoughts, but I'm curious, Opti. I'm going to go with you first, right?
Honestly,
Kaiser, is it Kaiser?
I think I have two choices. Obviously, I really enjoy Sailor's metaphors and the way he explains things. And I have this image of Sailor doing like what he does on Twitter for all of us, on what he's done on all the podcasts, and then just Joe doing the like, oh my God, mind blowing. Joe does that face where he just gets his mind blown. So I think Sailor might be one of the best, but I think I'd like to see Safety on there, just because he's so savage and he just cracks me up every time he spits the Austrian economic signal that we understand Bitcoin to be. So I think I would like Safety, but I think Sailor would be, if he's not one of the first ones, he's going to be one of the first ones. And I just can't wait to see the Joe Rogan memes of his mind just being exploded that we've seen, go around the internet for a long, long time. So I think those to me would be the top ones right now. And then of course, I'm sure we have a long line of friends that would go on and do a very great job. So who knows, man? I'm waiting to see who he brings back on, because as everyone says, Andreas went on there, and those are some classic Joe Rogan ones, but those are pretty old now. And I think we can update that message.
Yeah. Definitely. The Andreas episode was dope. Why do you think he hasn't invited a Bitcoiner on for so long? Like, Joe isn't stupid. Joe is a master marketer. He's really good at what he does. He was the host of the Fear Factor. It's not a coincidence that also he hosts the UFC as well. So it's like he's very talented. He knows what he's doing. So why do you think he avoided it last cycle? Why do you think he avoided bringing on someone like Sailor? Or like I would even say the most fascinating really to bring on would be someone like Nayib Bukele to talk about El Salvador, to talk about how, a lot of very powerful institutions are trying to sabotage the El Salvador Bitcoin experiment. So I'm very curious, like, why do you think that, of course we're speculating, we're going down that rabbit hole, but like, why do you think that is, Opti?
I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea. I think it might be kind of what I said in the beginning of my little rant. It might be Joe having a sense of responsibility to his audience, and maybe he's still not fully. Even though Andreas does a great job, I mean, you and I both have said Andreas is basically the reason why we got orange pilled in the first place. And I think he did a great job when he was on Joe Rogan, but maybe it's kind of what someone said in the chat, Joe takes a long time to learn something, but once he learns it, then he just goes gung-ho in it. So maybe he just wasn't completely sold with Andreas's message. And now in time, he's hodled Bitcoin. From what I understand, he's hodled a little Bitcoin, hasn't sold it. So maybe he is feeling what we understand. As much as obituaries can claim Bitcoin to be dead, it still seems to be thriving and it still seems to be getting adopted at rapid pace. So I really don't know. My speculation, as someone that is also in broadcast and social media and a journalist, it is having a sense of duty to your audience and not spreading information that you aren't fully convinced of. So that'd be my take.
Yeah. Then Arman, the Parman, says it has to be safe, Dean. The more people that listen what he says, the more people that will find Austrian economics and actually appreciate Bitcoin.
Agreed.
Ooh, I like it. We have Nigel. It says Guy Swan is decent. We have Think Orange. It says Alex Gladstein. Right. We have, sorry, bro, I can't pronounce your name. Sailor and Boof together. Foss would be fun on the sideline mouthing off. I would agree with that statement for sure. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes. Anyways, guys, let's get to news. We have a lot to talk about.
The Daily News.
Brought to you by Blockstream Jade, built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. It's an open source hardware wallet for the cold storage of Bitcoin. Blockstream Jade houses a full color camera, allowing for fully air-gapped Bitcoin transactions. Scan and display QR codes directly on the device to sign transactions and verify addresses with ease. Use your Blockstream Jade with your favorite wallet software, such as the Blockstream Green, Blue Wallet, Electrum, and Sparrow. Get yourself a Blockstream Jade today and take self-custody of your Bitcoin. All right, everybody. So interesting. Texts from crypto giant Binance reveal plan to elude U.S. authorities. Binance exploded onto the crypto scene in 2017 and grew into the world's biggest digital currency exchange. It quickly ran into a problem. Initially operated from hubs in China and then Japan, yet a fifth of its customers were in the US, where authorities signaled a coming crackdown on unregulated offshore crypto players. Any lawsuit from US regulators would be like nuclear fallout for Binance's business and its officers, a Binance executive warned colleagues in a 2019 private chat. Worried about the threat of prosecution, Binance set out a plan to neutralize US authorities, according to messages and documents from 2018 to 2020, reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. The strategy centered on building a bare-bones American platform, Binance.us, that would license Binance technology and brand, but otherwise appeared to be wholly independent of Binance.com. It would shield U.S. regulators' scrutiny. The larger Binance.com exchange, which would exclude U.S. users. But Binance and Binance.us have been much more intertwined than the companies have disclosed, mixing staff and finances and sharing an affiliate entity that bought and sold cryptocurrencies, according to the interviews and the messages and documents reviewed by the journal. Binance developers in China maintain the software code supporting Binance.us users' digital wallets, potentially giving Binance access to U.S. customer data. If U.S. regulators conclude that these links mean Binance had control over a U.S. company, they would claim the power to police its entire business, which to many investors has been a black box since the start. This would also put this billionaire founder and chief executive officer, CZ, and his finances under closer scrutiny. Recently, a Texas financial regulator said in a court filing that Binance.us didn't get a license to operate in the state because it wouldn't provide financial information from its largest shareholder, CZ. The Security and Exchange Commission and the Justice Department have been probing the relationship of Binance, which lists no headquarters to Binance US, at least since 2020. According to subpoenas and people familiar with the matter, the Justice Department has declined to comment. On Thursday, a bipartisan group of senators asked Binance to answer a series of questions alleging it had hidden basic financial information from its customers and the public. Binance has also been in the crosshairs of some other countries where it has been accused of operating without a license. Binance is by far the largest cryptocurrency platform, standing after the collapse last year of others such as FTX left the digital currency world's reeling. The swift collapse of FTX changed the calculus for US, who are now engaged in an intensive effort to rein in the $1 trillion crypto sector. Binance's ability to navigate the industry turmoil and deal with regulators in the US is a test for the future of crypto. Maybe for crypto, I don't see how this applies to Bitcoin. Patrick Hillman, Binance chief strategy officer, said last month that the exchange expects to pay monetary penalties to settle existing US regulatory law enforcement investigations. A spokesman said, quote, "We acknowledge that we did not have adequate compliance and controls in place during those early years, and we are a very different company today when it comes to compliance." A spokesman for Binance.us said, quote, "Binance.us was founded specifically to serve US customers with products and services that adhere to US rules and regulators. Binance close involvement with Binance.us was on display in September 2019 when a Binance staffer in Shanghai turned on for the US platform for a few minutes before it was meant to launch, resulting in an exchange in a Binance chat group on the messaging app Telegram." It said, Ninjor said, "Why did the trading start? It's not time yet. Who started trading? We had the trading timer set. Who started trading? Other messages. Someone started trading early. Who did that? Eventually, the company founder and chief executive, a guy in Shanghai, mistaken open operation." Okay, so kind of turns later in the article. Now, a couple things that I want to talk about here. First thing is, I think this highlights the fact that not only did Binance take this strategy, but also FTX. Another component of this as well is the reality is that you can't regulate this the way that the traditional legacy system is regulated. Okay. You're just going to force these exchanges to go overseas. Now, the thing is, why they're so interested in the US, whether that's FTX or Binance, is that, I think it's like 25 to 30% of the world GDP is in the US. So there's a tremendous amount of wealth to tap into in the American market. Now, it's a lot easier for them to regulate things when they control the money, right? But when they don't control the money, the rules change. Right. The ability for these exchanges to just pick up and migrate overseas increases. That's what they've already done. It's not just me just saying that or speculating that. That's what they've done. That's what FTX did. That's what Binance did. And I don't know how they're going to stop that. I don't see an easy way for US regulators to be, okay, Binance is not allowed to operate in the US, but then they risk pushing, the industry overseas, right? And we have major cities in very powerful financial hubs, which is Dubai or Hong Kong, right? The Hong Kong article was fascinating to me, where the CCP was playing both sides. They're like, okay, we're going to allow this industry to flourish in Hong Kong, but in the mainland, we're not going to allow it to flourish. And then if you're an exchange like Binance, the article said this itself, a Bloomberg article said itself, like if the US becomes too hostile towards the industry, towards the shitcoin industry is just going to go to where it's treated best. So very similar, Bitcoin miners did the same thing, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think that it's a learning curve for US regulators to acknowledge the fact that their ways of policing finance or the monetary rails doesn't work as effectively here, right? So there needs to be a balance between effective regulation, right? There needs to be a balance between kind of letting the industry do its thing. Now, is the US going to go down the path of, and we had Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, which potentially could become the next US Treasury, specifically if Biden wins re-election in the US. You know how he feels about shitcoins, right? So, but just because you feel that way, just because US regulators feel that way, doesn't mean the rest of the world feels that way. The rest of the world see as an opportunity to bring these shitcoin exchanges here. So the home field advantage is in the advantage of these shitcoin exchanges. You can't deny that, right? They have all the cards here, right? Because the US could cut itself out, but that's what it's doing. It's cutting itself out, right? Now, you can kind of go down the path of, okay, you know, there should have been friendlier regulation. But look, I don't think that looking at, as Bitcoiners, we should look to government regulation and government interference to stifle out shitcoins. I think it's important that Bitcoin beats shitcoins, which I think it will, on the free and open market. I think it will do that. It has the best incentives. It's the only cryptocurrency that's truly decentralized. And I think that's really where the competition should take place. I don't look, they would have already done it. They would have already shut these things down. That already would have happened if they could have done so already. But I think that they're stuck in this weird place between, we want to regulate, we do want to protect the consumer. I think that there is some authenticity in those statements, right? But at the same time, we don't want to risk the US isolating itself from the shitcoin industry, right? Oh man, this is very interesting. This is very interesting, and I love how they talk in the back to like, and you know, they come out with public statements like, oh, you know what, we adhere to US compliance, but at the same time, they're just like, yeah, we got to figure out to, you know, we got to figure a way around this. And it's interesting how Binance and both FTX played the same rule book, right? FTX US, Binance US, we're kosher, the Binance US organization, right? But the international organizations were the ones making all the calls. They're the ones actually in control of what was going on. So I don't know, I don't know where this ends. I don't know where this ends. I don't know what the right move as a Bitcoiner is. Like, I have no idea. But as a free market maxi, I just would say continue doubling down on Bitcoin, continue spreading the message of Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin is going to take care of itself. I think these shitcoin exchanges are a distraction. I think they bring a very bad name to the industry because a lot of people commingle the two. They say, oh, it's Bitcoin and it's shitcoins. They're the same industry. So, I mean, like, I don't know what the right course of action is here. I think this is a very unique situation because of the internet, because, you know, these shitcoins, they live in cyberspace. And one last thing as a Bitcoiner also is, look at all the shenanigans that are happening in the background. Do you really trust leaving your money on these exchanges? Like, look at what's happening in the background. You know, I wouldn't do that. I like, it's absurd. It's crazy. Why would you want to trust people now that you have the technology to not have to trust people holding your money, right? Is that yield really worth it? Is that, you know, shitcoin gambling speculation really worth your precious Satoshis, your precious Bitcoin? And I think that's really the question that I have for you guys. And I know that, you know, we're getting some new viewers lately. Like, that's the question that I have for you guys. Is that speculation really worth it? And look at all the regulatory crosshairs that Binance has on its back, right? Who's to say that, you know, Biden doesn't release an executive order saying, look, you can't allow any shitcoin exchanges trading in the US. And of course, that won't kill them. You know, Ripple is still around, but they are being isolated from a large percentage of the world's wealth at the end of the day. So the question that I have for you guys is, the shitcoin speculation really worth your precious Bitcoin, not your keys, not your Bitcoin? And look at all the shit. Look at all the shenanigans happening in the background, man. Look at all the weird, crazy, funky things, dude. I don't know, man. I don't trust Binance. I think Binance is guilty of exactly what FTX did. I just think that CZ had a more powerful position than SBF. I think CZ owned part of the FTX token, therefore he had the ability to dump it, and then that led to an inevitable collapse. But the article said it itself, right? It's Binance is a black box. You have no idea what is going on in the background. So let's see what happens, bro. But this is interesting. And again, if you're staying humble, stacking sats, sticking to Bitcoin only, none of this will affect you. You're just watching like the popcorn memes, the guy on the side just watching, eating popcorn while this whole shitcoin casino industry could potentially implode or explode, man. Like this is some crazy, sketchy stuff to say the least. But I don't think that there's an easy solution for governments and for regulators here. I just think that if they use the tools that they've been accustomed to using, those businesses are just going to pick up and go overseas. Like it's just as simple as that, right? And that's exactly what they've been doing already, kind of skirting around the regulations, saying, hey, we're going to register in the US. Hey, this is an independent entity. But when you look behind the hood, it's the same developers. It's the same people. So, I mean, I don't know, dude. That's my 2 sats on that. Opti, what's going on, bro? What do you see here?
Well, remember when the FTX stuff exploded, I said basically the same thing that you just said. CZ had a very keen sense of what is happening on the FTX in the background. And I just said, maybe it's because he's doing the same thing. Hey, I don't know. I was speculating, but it's very obvious that shitcoiners do the same thing. One scammer equals one scammer, as Becca said in the chat. But also, on the other hand, this is definitely like Operation Choke Point in full effect, in my opinion. And as much as I don't use, nor would I recommend Binance, because these are my very concerns as well, this does feel like the traditional institutions figuring out how to handle this situation in real time. So we're seeing this happen. And I personally, again, like you said, we are free market maxis, and I'd love to see more of a hands-off approach in regards to Bitcoin and shitcoins. But I'm also not naive, and I understand there are securities laws, and shitcoins definitely violate those securities laws, and it's very clear. So, hey, what do we say? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. As a Bitcoiner, we just sit here, take our Bitcoin into self-custody, basically expose these shitcoin casinos by calling their bluff. If you're using them, make sure you're taking your Bitcoin into self-custody and have these bank runs happen all the time and clear out all the garbage in the space. And this is good for the space at large. And, I'm not worried about it because I don't use Binance, nor do I recommend it. But hey, CZ is going to play those games. Shitcoiners are going to play those games, and just avoid them by staying humble and stacking sacks, guys. Just don't use leverage. Don't gamble on shitcoins. Just take your Bitcoin into self-custody using the wallets that I talk about every single day. Jade, Cold Card, Seed Signer, Breeze, Moon, Blue Wallet, Green Wallet, Sparrow, Spectre, Bitcoin Core. If you're hardcore, Breeze, Moon, like these are the tools we should be using, and you shouldn't be using an exchange to hold your Bitcoin long term. Do not do that at all, or you will find yourself in the same position as happened on FTX. Do not trust these companies with your Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. I hope the audio's a little bit better. Hardwired myself in now, but yeah, dude, don't trust these shitcoin casinos with your Bitcoin, dude. Don't trust these shitcoin casinos with your Bitcoin. I think that's the message here. Really sketchy things going on in the background. And look, I just even if you were to believe that, that these regulators had had the best interest of everybody at heart. Like, even if you were to believe that, clearly we don't believe that, right? Especially after, the article by Bitcoin Magazine, by Nick Carter, especially Operation Choke Point 2.0, especially since Caitlin Long's Bitcoin Bank, which tried to adhere to all the regulation, check all the boxes, was denied a federal banking charter. So there's a bit of a crossover. And what I think is happening is I think that Bitcoin is just exposing everybody's incentives, whether it's the incentives of the government, the incentives of the regulators, the incentives of the shitcoiners. It's just exposing everyone, and it's saying, yeah, do you really have people's best interests at heart? Because if they did have people's best interests at heart, what they would really do is push for a Bitcoin standard, right? The most equitable and equal standard the world will ever see, right? Anything else, advocating for anything else, you're advocating for a system where a group of elites play by a different set of rules than everybody else, right? So it's going to be interesting. And that's one of Bitcoin's favorite features of mine, right? It's this unintended feature. I think it's an unintended feature. I think it's a feature that not enough people talk about, but is one of my favorite, which is Bitcoin's ability to expose incentives. And regulators, governments, shitcoin exchanges, they're not immune to this. And I think we're going to continue seeing this. But as individuals, as Bitcoiners, I think the best course of action here is really advocating why Bitcoin only, advocating for taking Bitcoin into self-custody, hitting the drum over and over again, especially capitalizing on the recent, defunct FTX exchange, Celsius, all of that stuff, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Because remember, guys, if enough people take self-custody, we win the peaceful revolution, and there's absolutely nothing they could do about it. So we just got to double and triple and quadruple down on that message. Anyways, Opti, let's get to the meat. Let's get to the culture. We got a lot to talk about.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, speaking of self-custody, I know a lot of people, they write down their seed and they put it on paper. Don't do that. Get yourself a bit plate. It's a metal backup, literally marine grade steel. This stuff won't rust. Look how thick it is. You back up your seed on metal, literally on metal. It's not going to go anywhere. This will stand the test of time. Don't lose your generational wealth because you didn't properly back up your seed. So get yourself a bit plate, and you could use the promo code SIMPLY. Get yourself a big discount. Anyways, Opti, what do we have today, bro?
Let's go. All right, guys. So what I like to talk about a lot consistently, at least the last couple of months, is this idea of orange pilling. I say it all the time, get your mind right, get your body right, and be a good example of being a Bitcoiner. But I think all of us Bitcoiners are feeling the same thing when we're having these conversations with our friends and our family out there. And Eric Kason put it in a tweet perfectly right here. And he goes, almost every conversation with normies now I turn into how fucked everything is, and I get no objections or pushback. People see the problems, but not the answer. Hashtag Bitcoin. And this is something that I've experienced as well. I think everyone right now is starting to feel the problems. I know we've been saying it for a while that this is actually happening in real time, that no one can hide the sticker shock of inflation. People are feeling inflation right now. People are, they're trying to blame it on supply chain issues. And people are waking up to the idea of, wait, has everything I known to be true, is it actually a lie? And I think as a Bitcoiner, we are so far down the rabbit hole that we forget that a lot of people are still in the fiat matrix. And this is what we try to do consistently on this show, is break people out of the matrix, break people into the Bitcoin standard. And again, Eric Kason puts it perfectly in a tweet. The nihilism of fiat money has infected all, and our society is the end product of it. Infinite consumer BS, while the spiritual poverty so vast, no one bats an eye at the statement, everything is fucked. To fix the money is not to fix the world, it's to fix ourselves. And what do I say every single time? Fix your mind, fix your body, and everything else will follow. First, you need to get to the basics, audit yourself, and understand, not only am I infected by the money that I use, but all of our society is infected with this same disease, which is the fiat money. So what does this mean for us? It is to continue to beat the drum to people out there. As I say all the time, orange pilling your friends and family is true love. You need to continue to wake people up, pull them out of the fiat matrix. It is not an easy job. It does get dirty. Your hands will get dirty, but again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can just stack sats, do the whole Satoshi quote. I already hear people saying it in my head. I don't have the time to convince you. Like, have fun staying poor. Hey, you can do that as well. But I think as a Bitcoiner, it is upon us to just spread that signal, to help more people, pull them out of the matrix, and realize that we have the solutions. And it's not enough to just give lip, It's not enough. Yeah, lip service is the word. Sorry. It's not enough to just talk about the problems, guys. We need to continue to beat the drum. As Nico just said in the news, we have the solutions. It's not enough to just go out there and point to the problems like the talking heads do on the news channel, or even big influencer accounts on Twitter that aren't necessarily in the Bitcoin echo chamber. You need to push people to the solutions. And this is what we try to do consistently. And again, this is something that I harp on. This is something that I've internalized, and I've been looking at myself in the mirror and doing this for myself. But Michael Krieger puts it in a perfect meme or a perfect tweet. And he goes, degeneracy and madness went from being tolerated subcultures to mainstream dogma. The more debased the culture gets, the more motivated I am to become the best man, husband, and father I can be. A civilization may be collapsing, but you are still responsible for yourself. And this is something I harp on consistently to my friends off air. I don't think it's ever been easier to dominate than it is today, because people are lazy. They don't want to work. They just want to yell at people. They want to act like victims. So what do we do as Bitcoiners? We continuously tell you to build, to save, to build up your skill set, to continue to spread the Bitcoin signal, because right now, it's never been easier to be a good person, to dominate, to level up in society, because the haves and the have-nots are separating in real time. And you have the asymmetric knowledge to understand what is actually happening in the world right now. You are on the cutting edge of not only technology, but real-time understanding of the realities of the world. So you have a leg up on everyone else. And hey, say what you want. I think you should take advantage of this. And again, as Svetsky writes, goes, it's not just about freedom, it's about responsibility. Bitcoin is responsibility, go up technology. To be a Bitcoiner is to be an individual who can balance freedom and responsibility, rooted in a line of consistent and congruent values. I fundamentally think that Bitcoiners, we are right. If you are a Bitcoin only maxi, toxic Bitcoiner, you are right. Act like you are right. Build on this understanding, this confidence that you know what is actually happening in the world, and then make those ripple effects go out into society. And this is how we change the world. Again, back to the basics. As Big Sean Harris put in this tweet, the secret to getting more Bitcoin isn't trading, it isn't staking, it isn't leveraging, it's upping your cash flow. Simple, but not easy. Build skills, make more money, save in Bitcoin, and provide value to your fellow man. This is the way. Stop the excuses, do something of value, and society will respond to this. And as Bam the Mexican put on Twitter, shouts out to you, Bam. This is, I think, in a perfect tweet, the culmination of most of the argument, or most of the criticisms I get from people. It's people not prioritizing their future. And here Bam puts, he goes, monthly BTC stack, $999 too much. You pay rent, $999, no problem. Groceries, $100 for good meats, too much. Beers with the boys, $100, no problem. Workout, I ain't got no time, but I got 2 hours to watch Netflix and maybe one more episode. Life is about choices. Stop blaming the lack of opportunity. Stay humble and stack sats. This is something I had to do for myself. It's audit yourself, understanding where you're wasting time, where you're wasting your energies, and focus on what is going to build a better life for yourself. Again, I don't think it's ever been easier to start to dominate, to start to live a good life. Yes, we are up against a big $1 trillion PSYOP program, but you have the tools. And as CJ put this in the tweet, concentration builds wealth, diversification preserves wealth. You want to build wealth, concentrate in Bitcoin. Do not diversify in shitcoins, because we continuously cover this all the time. You're going to lose your shirt on a shitcoin exchange, gambling for more gains, where what you really need to do is build something that society values, up your cash flow, or rather up your sats flow, save in Bitcoin, spread the Bitcoin message, live a good life. And this is how we spread the signal out there. This is how we make Bitcoin cool, is by living a good life. People fundamentally want to live a good life. And right now, I don't know about you, but you look around, a lot of people are still stuck in the pessimism, the nihilism of the modern world. They want to bombard you with fear. They want to bombard you with doom porn. So what do? You stay hopeful, you stay optimistic holding Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will change your life. And I'm only saying this because it's done for me what I know it can do for you, as long as you trust the process, trust the blueprint, up your skills, up your sats flow, save in Bitcoin, and then spread that message to more people. Take Bitcoin into self-custody. And yes, as Rope said right here, Just work fucking hard. This is the way, guys. You have the tools at your disposal. Now go out there, act on it, and live a better life. And as we all do this as individuals, the message will become stronger and more people will become Bitcoiners just because you are living a good life. This is my fundamental thesis. This is what I've been doing personally. I've internalized this. I'm in the gym. I'm eating better. I'm getting my mind right. I'm getting my sleep. We're building as much as possible. We're trying to give you guys the information, the value that you guys want as the market out there responding to us. And this is all you have to do. It isn't easy. Don't overcomplicate it, but just trust the process. Anyways, Nico, I know I ranted today. I went a little esoteric. Today, but
good.
It felt like this is one of those things we needed to cover on. And, it is called culture for a reason.
Yeah, man. Dude, absolutely hit the nail on the head. And I think people underestimate how much Bitcoin changes your perception of the world. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I think you were very thorough in your bit, Opti. Look, the fact is that if you are on the fiat operating system, you constantly have to work harder and harder and harder and harder just to make ends meet. Why Bitcoiners are so optimistic is because their operating system, their perception, their relationship with money is very different, right? Because Bitcoin, is literally designed to go up forever, Laura. All of a sudden, it's not a question of can you be able to afford a certain thing or can you able to pay for things? It's just a question of how long do you have to save and how long does it take to get there? And that's a very different value proposition. And once that value proposition happens, all of a sudden you have hope for the future. Where on a fiat standard, there is no hope. That hope has been taken away from you. And politicians are genius at this. They blame the other political opponents on all the problems, where in reality, what people should really be awakened to is the fact that it's not necessarily the other political side. It's the fact that money is stealing from you. And if you are not if you're not very wealthy, if you don't have the means to save in assets, you're getting poorer. Your real work is not being rewarded, right? And that's the problem. And I really believe that problem, as simple as it sounds, is responsible for a lot of the woes and the issues and the political division that we see today. It's because people their ability has been stripped from them. Their ability to save for the future, their hope has been taken away from them. And how would you react if your hope was taken away from you? If your ability to feed your family is taken away from you? You'd get desperate, wouldn't you? A lot of these strong men would seem alluring. A lot of these political narratives would seem alluring because you don't know what's going on. And this is why we focused on Joe Rogan in the very beginning of the episode. Joe Rogan is extremely powerful and extremely influential. His platform is absolutely massive. So for him to just highlight some of the simple things that we're talking about, it doesn't even need to talk about, because that gets lost on people. People don't care about how things work. They just care if things work in the first place. And if we highlight the issues of fiat money, the shortcomings of fiat, the shortcomings of government money, the shortcomings of not taking custody of your own wealth, I think that will be a very impactful episode. And I'm really looking forward to that episode. And I hope it's someone that has the ability, the charisma to capture the hearts and minds and the imagination of people and just point out what is going on. Point out the fact that it's not because people lean left or because they lean right or they lean center. It's that the system itself is working against everyone else, and both political sides are responsible for this mess. And Bitcoin is the way out. Bitcoin is the most effective vote you can make. taking that Bitcoin, buying it, earning it, mining it, taking that Bitcoin, putting it into cold storage, boom. You made a vote for a better world. You made a vote for a more equal world, a more equitable world, a world where it doesn't matter who you are. If you work hard and you save and take self-custody of your Bitcoin, you do have the time. You will have the opportunity to hope for a better future. And that hope has been stolen from us, has been stolen from my generation. And Bitcoin gives it back. And this is why we're here. This is what the peaceful revolution is all about. This is what we fight for day to day. And how we win is simple. Take that Bitcoin, put it in a cold storage, forget about it. Boom, you're good. Now convince everyone else around you. Convince them. Stop getting distracted. The left and the right and the that. It's like such a huge component of the US right now in culture. And it's like, no, you guys are all wrong. Like, even if you believe that ideologically what they're saying is correct, like even if, let's say you do believe that, but their solution is dog shit. Their solution is a vote, right? What is that vote gonna do? Do you think Joe Biden or Donald Trump is gonna fix your fucking problems? No, it's not gonna do anything. You gotta fix the money. You fix the money, you fix the world, and you fix this whole bullshit that we're going through. And I could say this with almost 100% confidence, that if we fix the money, a lot of these political divisions will go away. It will take a backseat. They're not as important as people believe them to be. The reason that people believe them to be so important is because they need a boogeyman right now. There's issues and there's problems in their lives and they can't point to it. They don't know what is the cause. And that's what we fight for every day. We're trying to highlight that. We're trying to make it obvious to everybody. There's no traditional political solution to this. The solution to this is fixing the money in the first place. And the beauty of that is that by fixing the money, by fighting for that, it's going to expose incentives. And it's going to expose who is grifting, whether they're on the left or the right. Are they really out for the people, as a lot of these politicians say they are, or are they really out for themselves? And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It exposes incentives. It doesn't matter who you are. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the meme review. We got a lot to go through.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboom Racks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboom Racks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboom Racks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboom Racks. Kaboom. Kaboom. Kaboom.
Oh, you already know. This is the meme review. This is your favorite portion of the show where you guys send us memes, either tagging us on Twitter or sending them into our Telegram group. So continue to send me the memes and I will highlight them on the show. As we say every single day on the show, tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery. You guys are in an information war right now. You guys are getting bombarded by way too much noise. So put your hat in the ring, spread the signal, put truth in art. Get calls of action, get people stacking Bitcoin, continue to counter the legacy corporate press, and this is how we win. Anyways, this first one is actually a Nico posting, but from what I know, it is BTC Therapist, so shouts out to you, bro. Keep giving these to Nico because I keep seeing them, and these are awesome memes. And so, on the top is a picture of a skeleton at a computer, and it goes, when you run out of organs to sell, but Bitcoin is still under 25K, and on his computer it goes, sell bones for 1 Bitcoin. Let's go. If you still have a kidney, you are not bullish enough. You are short Bitcoin. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke, guys. But hey, if you know, you know. Anyways, this next one is by Maxie's Club, and he just posts on Twitter 41. And this is kind of, I think maybe I was loosely inspired by this on the culture today. And we got, who is this? We got iAxum. aka Maxi backwards, and it goes, when you don't get to convince your friends to invest in Bitcoin, and he opens up his locker and there's a picture of Dorian Nakamoto, aka what people claim to be Satoshi, and says a picture of him with his classic face, and he goes, I have failed you. And as you can see, he works at McDonald's. This is how we all are trying to convince our friends to save even a little bit of their net worth in the Bitcoin.
This is a good one.
This next one is by Big Sean Harris, and this is the classic Crowder meme where he's sitting at the chair and he goes, change my mind. And so Sean Harris goes, remember, if it's not Bitcoin, then it's a shitcoin. And we got Crowder with the change my mind table, and it goes, shitcoiners are just fiat maxis. Change my mind. This is true. This is uncontentious at this point. You are either here for the revolution to fix the money, or you are here to make fiat gains gambling on shitcoins. This next one is by @BeaverBitcoin_, and it goes, Bitcoin is the great reset they never expected. And we got a knight here, and it says World Economic Forum. And then we got an arrow that goes in the little itty bitty slit of his eyes, killing it, or blinding it. We'll go with blinding just because the YouTube algos. And the arrow is named Bitcoin. Okay, this next one is by @TheCooge on Twitter. And it goes, when you see a Bitcoin pleb tweeting about Nostr, and you can see this is Morpheus in, I forget what is this, in Zion, talking to the other people that have escaped the Matrix. And it goes, reading and discussing Bitcoin on Nostr. Everyone's, in an echo chamber, enjoying the signal. And then us Bitcoiners on Twitter fighting and mocking no coiners and shitcoin scammers on Twitter. And it is Neo fighting Mr. Anderson just continuously. I felt this one because it really does feel like that. On Nostr, everyone is agreeing and amplifying the Bitcoin signal. And on Twitter, it seems like we are just continuously having to beat our heads against a brick wall. This next one is by Jemison Lop. And we go metaphorically again. Yes. Metaphorically. Okay, this first one, we got a box, and it goes, action, touch something too hot, and it's someone putting their hand on a hot iron skillet. And the next one is response, stop touching it, and you pull your hand off the hot pan. And this next one is action, print money, causing inflation, and prices go up. And the response by the IRS and every central planner in the world is continue to print more money to fight rising prices. It's not how it works. Okay, and this next one, hold on, we got to give you the little audio here. This next one is by Bitcoin Meme Hub. And here, hold on. Let me bring this one in because it's got a little audio in here. I try to avoid the audios, but this one is it's not gonna hit the copyright. So here we go. Financial advice during the bear markets with Bitcoin Meme Hub. We got a bear on a wall, and we got a bunch of dogs. Don't trade. And then we got a lady pushing the bear off and says, get yourself off the exchange.
What timeline is this?
I have no idea.
There's an astronaut with a Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, God. Okay.
This is what we're doing every single day. Shouts out the Bitcoin Meme Hub. We just tell you to take your Bitcoin off an exchange. Don't trade. Stay humble. Make sure your cash flow, your sats flow is increasing so that you can hold on to these sats to make it over the finish line. Okay. Drop your meme review score in the chat, and we will cover some of them live. And for my meme score, Nico, today, I started to reread this. It is my very beat up copy of Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead.
Oof. Okay.
Absolutely one of my favorite books.
Very, very nice. Very nice. All right. So someone asked in the chat how you put your seed in the metal plate. Comes with a punch tool, and you punch it in. And for anyone that doesn't know, you only need the first 4 letters of your seed word. That's all you need, right? And then usually the hardware wallet of choice that you use will, pick up the word for you. So interesting to see how that works. But yes, definitely store your seed in metal. Now, before we get to our live meme review scores, I want to tell you guys about our awesome clothing sponsor, RepresentLTD.com. Opti and I wear the merch every single day. Opti's wearing the limited edition Simply Bitcoin merch. I'm wearing the classic black hoodie with the Represent logo. You can take advantage of the promo code Simply-Bitcoin, get 10% off anything on the RepresentLTD.com store. Anyways, let's get to some of the scores. First one by HODLcoin, but first, Opti, We gotta make dramatic. We gotta put on some music. Here we go. Coin. I give the memes a puff followed by a Rogan what with Kaiser. Okay. I just pictured that in my head. Desmina. I give the memes Opti's Simply Bitcoin mug. Opti's always drinking from the Simply Bitcoin mug. Next score by Igor. I give the memes a Joe Rogan Octagon interview with, quote, the new undisputed maxi champion of the world. With the music sounds so much better. All right, next one. Fiat Respector score Chrissy on Joe Rogan Experience, revealing how it's Andrea's fault for ending her relationship with Opti. Next one, Bitcoin Becca. I give the memes one of Yellow's DSB Don't Stop Believing Spaces live on Joe Rogan. All right, very nice, very nice. Rope rating those memes. Opti's near pop culture fail. Watching you.
Yeah, close, Rob,
First
almost.
name K. I gave those memes a Safer-Dean bobblehead. Very nice, very nice. Next one, Opti.
I think that's it. I think that's it. That's it for today.
Buzzer. Okay, we stopped because of the buzzer, not because we ran out of scores. Anyways, also guys, check out Simply Bitcoin's Telegram groups, absolutely free. You got to go to www.t.me/simplybitcointv. Shout out to our awesome mod holding it down, Darthcoin. Also check out the written version of this show, simplybitcoin.news. We're dropping articles every couple of days. You definitely check it out, and shout out to our awesome group of writers. There's so many of you guys now. Don't have the time to give you all you a shout out, but we love you all. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. If you enjoyed the episode, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. If you're on the go and you could only listen to us on audio form, check us out on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Fountain. Opti totally forgot the Fountain comments, but he will remember tomorrow. And we love you all. Remember, guys, don't shitcoin. It's bad for you. Stick to Simply Bitcoin. Tune into the Simply Bitcoin live Twitter Spaces, which we co-host with our friends over at swanbitcoin.com. Best place to stack sats built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, which we're holding down until 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you guys there. It's an interactive version of this show. We can hang out, talk, discuss. You can ask Opti and I any question on your mind. Anyways, see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.